Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe if you're new, and if you're not new, then welcome back. Today, we are going through every single book on my physical TBR. So I have not actually yet counted these books. I will put the count number up on the screen. I'm sure it's a number that I do not want to know. I used to pride myself on having a physical TBR that was always under 30, and that has just not been the case lately. I'm very lucky enough now to get sent books by publishers, proof copies and ARCs, which is the best feeling ever, by the way. So this is my physical TBR. These do go all the way down to the floor. Couldn't quite frame it properly for you there. There's a few different categories that we're going to go through. We've got some non-fiction, we've got fantasy, sci-fi, modern, contemporary, classics, loads of different stuff. So let's just jump in. I'm going to start off though with the 3 books that I am currently reading. So these 3 books on the top of this stack are the books that I'm currently reading. We have Sabriel, which is a young adult fantasy. I think this came out in the 90s, but I've never read it before and I'm reading it for the first time, and it's very, very fun. I'm actually reading this on my Kindle. It's free on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm not reading it physically, but I'm very much enjoying this book and I'm glad that I've started it finally. Next up, the book that I am reading physically is As Long as Lemon Trees Grow, which is a beautiful and very sad, heartbreaking story about a girl who is living in Syria. So she is living through the revolution in Syria, and she is basically trying to make the decision whether to leave Syria or to stay in the country. And it's very, very heartbreaking so far. I'm about 60% of the way through this one. It's very, very sad, but it's very beautifully written and I am enjoying it. And then the last one that I'm currently reading is All the Light We Cannot See, and I've got this physically, but I'm actually listening to it on audiobook. I'm only a little bit of the way through. This is really definitely a slow start for me. I'm kind of not picking it up that much on audiobook. I don't know whether it's just because of the audiobook, if I should have read it physically instead. I've heard amazing things from so many people about this book. It's just been quite tough to get into for me. I think war stories are not my favourite. I don't love a World War II story. But I'm going to keep going and see where we get to, but not loving it so far actually. So because I've already mentioned publisher mail, why don't I go through my stack of things that I have been sent that are proofs or that have recently come out that I'm very, very excited for. So this here is my publisher book mail stack. So let's see what's on the pile. We have Days and Days and Days by Tone Shunesson, which is translated from Swedish, and I'm very excited about this one. I think it's about a celebrity who's kind of washed up called Bibbs. She has to find a way to make a lot of money in a week, and I was really, really happy to be sent this one, so I'm very excited to review it. Next up, one of my most anticipated reads that I got sent, which I'm so excited about, is I got sent the new Patrick Rothfuss book, which is Narrow Road Between Desires. This is Bast's story that has been just updated. It was a short story called The Lightning Tree, and it's now a novella. It's got beautiful illustrations inside, and of course I pick up the one with the naked lady on it, but yeah, anyway, I can't wait to get to this one. I love Patrick Rothfuss. He's one of my favourite writers, and I know this is kind of a controversial book actually for some people, but for me, I'm just very excited he's writing and publishing again. Okay, we need to pick up the speed because I've got a lot of books to get through. Okay, so the next one we have is Loot, which I'm also very, very excited for. This, I think, is a historical, maybe magical realism story about a toy carver who kind of gets pulled along on this adventure, and I love this cover so much, and I really, really cannot wait to read this one. The next couple I was recently sent from Headline Eternal, which I'm very grateful for, and they are kind of Halloween-y, spooky vibes. So the first I've heard a lot about, which is The Kiss Curse. I think this is a cute kind of small town witchy romance book, so very, very excited for that one by Erin Sterling. And I heard a lot about this last year when it came out, so I'm really excited to have it in the paperback. And then the next one is The Enchanted Hacienda, and this also I think is a witchy rom-com, also set in this hacienda in Mexico, so I'm very excited to get to this one as well. Okay, but next up is definitely the most beautiful advanced reader copy that I've ever been sent, which is what ARC stands for, by the way, and also by one of my potential favourite authors. And it's her new book, and I'm so excited about it. So I recently got this. It's Evocation by S.T. Gibson, or Evocation. I'm not sure how you actually say it. But this is the most beautiful proof. Look at it. It's gorgeous. I'm so excited for it. So S.T. Gibson wrote A Dowry of Blood, and this is her new book, which comes out in May next year. And I'm just definitely going to read it before then because I cannot wait. And then next we have 3 hardcover proofs that I was sent. Number 1 is Cutting Teeth by Chandler Baker. This was compared to Big Little Lies, which I'm very excited for, but I think that the toddlers or the kids in it are like vampires or something, so that's kind of fun. I also have Thoughtless by Lucy British, and this is about a girl who, if she thinks too hard, her brain will explode, and kind of what that's like, so I'm very excited for this one. Also love the little brains on the cover. And then lastly, this one I keep seeing so much about, and I can't believe I haven't got to it yet, is Profit. This is about when this kind of diner appears in the middle of nowhere, and it's giving people like their happiest memory or what they most want, but it's also kind of a horror twist. I'm not sure. This is kind of one that I'm not sure what the genre is totally, but I'm really excited to get to it, and some people who have read it have really enjoyed it, so that is Profit. And then the final proof that I want to show you, I was recently sent this and I cannot believe that I got it, because I think that they're very limited edition, and there's only apparently 150, and I got sent one. I'm so happy about it. It is the Atlas Complex. So this is the third and final installment in the Atlas 6 trilogy. I love the Atlas 6. I also really enjoyed the Atlas Paradox, and so I cannot wait to see what happens in the final book. These are absolutely stunning proofs. I love the copper, and yeah, I'm just so excited and so happy to be sent this. Next up, maybe I'll just go through quickly my Discworld collection, which is these are the books that I have not yet read for Discworld. If you don't know Discworld, it's a huge like 40 book kind of series collection of stories, and they're all set on Discworld, but they follow different characters. There's kind of different series within the main series. So these are the ones that I have so far collected that I have not read. I've got Weird Sisters, which I'm excited for. This is one of the witches one. Guards, Soul Music, Mort, which I'm going to read this month. Very excited for this one. Night Watch, which looks bigger than the others, which I'm intrigued about. Small Gods, and Carpe Jugularum. I think that's how you say it. Carpe Jugulum. So these are the Discworld books that I've got that I have not read yet. And I just love collecting these. I love the old school covers, and they're so fun to find in charity shops. Okay, next up, let's tackle this stack, which is the fantasy and sci-fi genre stack. So the top three I'm going to prioritise and read this month, which are Emily Wild's Encyclopedia for Fairies, Bear and the Nightingale, and finally the Jasmine Throne. And all three of these I've talked a little bit about in my TBR video, which you can go and watch if you want my thoughts on those ones. But let's go through the rest of this stack. So I'll start with going through the fantasy ones. I have The Last Unicorn, which was one of my favourite movies as a child, and I didn't really realise it was a book, so when I saw that this was being republished again, I snagged a copy, so can't wait for this. Also, I just have the most random book next. I don't know where I picked this up or who gave it to me or where I got it from, but it's like a random short story from the Game of Thrones or the Song of Ice and Fire kind of trilogy called The Ice Dragon. I don't know why this is on my shelf, and I don't know why I haven't read it yet, because it'll probably take about half an hour. It's got pictures and everything, so I don't know why I've not read this yet. One that I wish that I read around Halloween time is Interview with a Vampire. I've heard amazing things about this one, and I also really want to watch the movies and the new, I think there's a new TV show actually out as well for this, so I'm really excited for it, and I wish that I got to it during Halloween, but I'm going to read it any time of the year, I don't mind. Next up is The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid, and I loved Juniper and Thorn by the same author, so I'm really hoping that I also love this one too. Next up, I love this edition, this copy that I managed to find. It's The Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, book number 3. That is in this, I think these are the US mass market paperbacks, because it's so tiny. It's really cute copy, and I absolutely love this old school cover. So this is book 3 in the Farseer trilogy. I wish I could find book 1 and 2 also in the same edition, but I actually looked them up on eBay and they were like £60 or something to buy them, so I'm just randomly managed to find this one in a charity shop, and I absolutely need to read it, but I think the thickness and also the tiny font are kind of something that is holding me back slightly, but I'm definitely going to finish it before the end of the year. Next up we have Electra. By Jennifer Saint, and she wrote Ariadne, I believe, which I've read and I did enjoy. So this is another retelling, this time of Electra, and I think it's following 3 main characters, obviously Electra, also Cassandra and Clymestra, or I think Clytemnestra. I'm not sure, these Greek names, you know, I'm like. Anyway, yes, I'm very excited for this one. Also, love the cover. And this is another charity shop find. I found it for like £2. I absolutely love charity shop book shopping. And then I have a small sci-fi section. So another charity shop book find is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau. I love Silvia Moreno Garcia's books. She writes in loads of different genres, and I just think it's amazing how she can write such engaging stories in such different styles. And so I'm very excited for this kind of sci-fi take. This is obviously a retelling of The Island of Dr. Moreau, which coincidentally I also found in a charity shop. So this one I think I want to read first. This is the original by H.G. Wells, who I believe wrote War of the Worlds, I think, which I did not love, but he's such a classic sci-fi author that I really do want to read and want to get to. This was also another charity shop find, £2.50, absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of myself, honestly, when I find charity shop books. So yeah, reading this one first, then we'll do the Sylvia Moreno Garcia one. Next up, we have an Ursula K. Le Guin book that I am really, really excited to get to. It's The Dispossessed. I've heard amazing things about this one. I've read some of her fantasy books, and I've also read her Left Hand of Darkness book, and I've heard even better things about this one, so I'm really, really excited, and I'm convinced it's going to be a new favourite. And then finally, a little cozy sci-fi that I recently added to my TBR is A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and this is the start of the Wayfarers series, I believe, which is about a group of people on a spaceship, and I've heard that it's kind of cozy sci-fi, which I don't read any of, so I'm very, very excited to get to it. I love Becky Chambers' writing. She's wrote one of my other favourite series, the Monk and the Robot series, so I love that and cannot wait for this one. Okay, so this video is already very long, but let's get to this stack just by my head. So this is kind of my doesn't really fit in a genre, contemporary fiction, books that I've just randomly picked up, that kind of thing. So let's just start from the top. This was a charity shop book find, which I'm very proud of. It's The Pisces. So this is the Melissa Broder book that I've not yet read. I read Milk Fed and I loved it. I read her new one, Death Valley, and I did not like it that much. And I'm really, really excited to see what I think about The Pisces, because it's going to kind of be the decider for me out of, you know, the 3 books, and to see if I want to pick up any more of Melissa Broder's books, to see if she's going to be an author for me or not. Next up is a charity shop book find, but not from me. My friend Alice found this for me, and she knows that I wanted to read it, which is The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. I've never read an Anne Patchett, and I think that this is her most famous one. I've heard amazing things, and I just really want to get to it. And I also just actually love this cover. Like, it's really, really beautifully illustrated. So another one that I'm very, very excited for. Next up, we have an Agatha Christie that I've not yet read, and I just absolutely love reading Agatha Christie books. So this one I believe I stole from my mum, so sorry mum if you are watching this, which I know that you are. I stole this one from you, and I will give it back maybe, or maybe not. I have not read this one yet. I just love Agatha Christie. She's just the best. Next up, another charity shop book find. This is The Overstory, and I was looking for this edition for ages. I've really, really wanted to read this. This won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, and it's also just an absolute bestseller, and I saw this edition somewhere and I didn't get it, and then I only ever saw other editions that aren't as beautiful, and so when I found this I was so excited. This is apparently a very beautifully written book, and it has won so many awards. I've actually just seen on the back Anne Patchett has blurbed it, saying that it's one of the best novels, period, so I'm very, very excited about this. I think it's a story within a story. I think it's about nature. I don't know. I just think that I'm absolutely going to love it. Also, weirdly, this book is so heavy compared to some of the other ones that I've got of the same size. But anyway, very, very excited. Can't wait to read it. Next up, we have a Mona Awad book, the one that I have not read yet. So she wrote Bunny, which I loved, and she also wrote Rouge, which I also loved. So I also cannot wait to get to All's Well. So this, I believe, is about a woman with chronic pain, and yeah, very, very excited for Mona Awad's books. Next up, we have Sophie's World. This is just something I feel like I missed out on, like as a teen or a child, that I didn't read and that I kind of really want to, because I don't know much about philosophy, and this is a book about Sophie who's learning about philosophy, basically, I think, anyway. And yeah, I just think this would be a fun way to learn about it. Next up, we have a Ruth Ozeki book. I've never read a Ruth Ozeki book. This is the Book of Form and Emptiness, and it won the Women's Prize, I believe, yeah, in 2022. And it's one of the only ones that I didn't read in 2022 when I was reading the short list and the long list. So I'm kind of annoyed that it's the one that I didn't read and it's the one that won. So I do have it on my shelf to read at some point. Next up, we have a Rachel Cusk book. This is Outline, another charity shop book find. I did buy it for the cover. I absolutely love this cover. I think that this is kind of an experimental novel about someone who's writing a novel, and it's like an outline of a novel. I don't know. It kind of sounds weird. I'm intrigued. And then the last one on this stack is The Pachinko Parlor, which, yes, of course, I did also buy for the cover. I absolutely adore this cover. This author gets the best covers, because she also wrote Winter in Sokcho, which I also own, but it's up there and I can't be able to go and get it. But they are just stunning. And I liked Winter in Sokcho, but I didn't love it. But lots of people just really, really rave about this author, so I thought, well, it's no harm to me, you know, buying another beautiful book just to see if I like it. So I'll read this at some point and see what I think. Okay, we are finally up to the last stack. Thank you for staying with me. If you have, if you haven't, then you won't hear this anyway. Okay, so within this stack, we have books that I want to read for my Reading Around the World challenge. So I will tell you the book and I will tell you the country. Oh, that I want to read from. Firstly, we have Drive Your Plough Over the Bones of the Dead, and this is a Polish book, and I've heard just absolutely amazing things about this. It's also a prize-winning book, and I actually have already done Poland for my challenge, but I got into some trouble on TikTok when I posted the video because apparently the author, even though his parents are Polish and he grew up in Poland, he doesn't currently live in Poland, or I don't know, he lives in New York and he only visits Poland or something like that. So I technically did not complete it for the challenge, writing a book based in that country. So for that, I am doing this book. Okay, and then next up we have The Bridge Over the Drina. I've had this on my shelf for ages, and if you look up kind of Bosnian or Serbian literature, this one comes up a lot. This is set in a small town in Bosnia, and I think it's kind of a fictionalized history. I think it spans quite a big amount of time. I'm not totally sure, and I really hope that I learn a lot more about this area of the world when I read this book, but it comes really, really highly recommended and highly rated, so I am looking forward to it. Next up we have Potiki. I think that's how you say the name. So Potiki is based on a small remote island off the coast of New Zealand, and I think it is basically about a small Maori community, an indigenous community who are being threatened by new tourism that's coming to the island. I also love the artwork on this cover. It's absolutely gorgeous, so I cannot wait for reading this one too. Next up for the Reading Around the World ones, we have Time Shelter, which just won. Which prize did it win? The International Booker Prize. So this is Time Shelter, and the author is Bulgarian, and I think that it's one of the only translated books from Bulgarian to English. And I'm also very excited for this because I think that it is a time travel book, but kind of magical realism, and it's a book about a man who is trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's by basically doing time travel. So that sounds fun. I've heard amazing things. Okay, we are getting to the end now, slowly and surely. Next up, I have the 3 Kazuo Ishiguro books that I have not read by him yet. He is suspected to be one of my favourite authors, but he's someone that I do want to read basically most of his work. So these are 3 books that I have not read from him. They are When We Were Orphans, An Artist of the Floating World, and A Pale View of Hills. So I did buy these as part of a set with the other books that I've got. I do believe there's another one that I do not own yet and I have not read, but these are the next 3 on my list for my Kazuo Ishiguro reads. And then to finish off, we have 2 classics and 2 non-fiction. So the non-fiction that I have on my shelf are How to Be a Stoic. So this is all about stoicism, but also how to apply it to our day-to-day life to basically live a better life. Okay, I don't know why I thought this was non-fiction. It's definitely not. This is All My Rage by Saber Tahir. So I'm going to put this in a different stack now that I'm organising my books and I've pulled them all off my shelf. But I've heard amazing things about this one, and I've read some of Saber Tahir's other fantasy books, so I'm really excited to see this more. I think it's actually a historical fiction, so let's see what it's about. I clearly thought it was non-fiction for some reason. I don't know why I thought it was a memoir, but yeah, putting it on the correct stack now. And then the final 2 books that I have are classics. So I have The Name of the Rose. This is just one of those books that I feel like is always referenced, and I really want to read the source material. I've heard that it's actually kind of difficult to get through, so I'm kind of a bit nervous about that, which is why it's still on my shelf. Speaking of difficult to get through though, the final book that I've got on my TBR is War and Peace. And look at this, isn't it gorgeous? I love this cover, but oh my god, I can't even hold it up for too long. It's a chunky book. This is another charity shop book find. I absolutely love the cover of this one, and I will get to it eventually. I don't know when, but it's going to happen at some point. I have to defeat this. I've read some of the very, very long Russian classics, and once you start, it's fine to kind of just keep chugging through, but something about them, oh my god, it's intimidating to start. So that is the final book. Every single book on my TBR, in my physical TBR, on my digital TBR is much, much longer. But this is all the books. You can't see them. I am like surrounded by books right now. Just absolutely everywhere. It's going to be so much fun to tidy all of these up. So please let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know if I mentioned one of your favourite books. That would be something I'd be really interested to know. If you have read any of these and hated them. I also do want to know that because you might save me some time. If there's any you think, definitely get rid of that, unhaul it. I do need help with my unhauling, so I really want to know as well. Just leave me a comment, basically. Just chat to me in the comments. I love getting comments. And if you haven't already, please remember to subscribe. It means a lot to me. And if you have subscribed, then thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!